Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Wendy De Rosa, and I'm going to start. This Facebook Live. Um, we're going to talk about empathic intuition and mediumship, and I'm going to actually open with just a grounding meditation brief, just to set our space and allow people to arrive here at this time. So we'll go ahead and close our eyes. I'll close my eyes. And take some deep breaths into your lower body. And just deepening your breath on your inhale, bring your breath all the way down to your pelvic floor. And on your exhale, we're going to allow prana, life force energy, to release down your grounding cord as your body expels air. So there's a release down energetically, but the air will release out through your lungs and your mouth. Deep breath in. And exhale, release. And just through our breath right now, we're just waking up the grounding force in the body. We're telling through breath, communicating to the lower half of the body that you're here, you're present, you're grounded, letting your cells know I'm dropping in, hello. And we'll invite our grounding cord, which is a beam of light or a tree trunk-like image, secure around your hips and your sit bones, your low belly, your low spine. It extends down deep into the earth. And just hike it up a little bit higher towards your waistline to give yourself some extra security in your lower body. And invite your grounding cord to extend down deep into the earth, going deeper than the crust, anchoring into a deeper, more stable essence in the center of the earth, allowing you to arrive here and feel supported. There's a beautiful sphere of grace around you, around me, around this healing space, around those who will listen back later, that we're all included in this conscious evolution, this rising, this greater collective of supporting each other in the expansion of the soul, of the being, of the self. I pray for our spirit guides, our angels, the beings that support us on this journey beyond our physical body. I pray for that love and protection and guidance in this space, and I pray that my connection is open to the divine. I receive God's grace through my crown to my third eye, throat, heart. It continues down into the earth. It's protected with love. I pray for a powerful time today in this Facebook Live. Thank you, God. So be it, and so it is. So welcome, everyone. Hello, Diane. Hi, Linda. Welcome, and everyone else here. Seeing some comments. So I would love to go over, explain, support you with two aspects of intuition that tend to be very more well-known than things like clairsentient and clairaudient. I mean, they are aspects of intuition, but we often hear about the words mediumship, and we hear about the words empathic, or being an empath. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but first I want to say that what's really part of my work, and many of you, we've been in Shift Network programs together, we've been in my training programs and other things. Maybe you've been on my list, or even just on here in Facebook or YouTube, wherever. What I wanted to say, just to clarify, is my interest in supporting people in developing intuition. It's more than my interest; it's my call to do this. Is to support you in your health and wellness as an intuitive being. Is that you are a healthy, grounded intuitive in the world with these expansive gifts and life experience. Your life experience with your intuition. because we are being called into the world, because we're being called into being there in the world with our power, with our gifts, showing up, and the more we own it and the more we're grounded in it, the less crazy it becomes, the less uncertain it becomes, the less weird it is. So I'm here to support you in normalizing really what these words mean, and also what the experience is, and also to say that we're evolving souls. And yes, we have a spiritual connection, and yes, there is a spiritual life on the other side of our physical life. And so I want to say that, there's my interest is that we're developing intuition and working with intuition in a really healthy way. So first of all, it's important just to say that, intuition in general, what intuition is in the body is it's our consciousness communicating through our human experience. And it's divine consciousness within us, it's our soul, it's higher wisdom, it's our soul in union with the divine. And so sometimes those hits that we can get, or those voices we can hear, or that awareness we can get deep within, and we're saying, I don't know where that's coming from. Is it coming from me, or is it coming from somewhere else outside of me? And when we bring divine grace into our being, which happens sometimes without thinking about it, without us being consciously aware, what'll happen is that the spirit ignites. The spirit it's infused with divinity. Our soul is infused with that divinity, and so it's all one. Spirit, grace, the divine, our soul, it's all one, communicating through our consciousness. Now, there are 4 aspects of intuition. There's the feeling sense, which is clairsentience. There is the knowing sense, which is claircognizance. There is the hearing sense, which is clairaudient. And there is the clairvoyant sense, which is the seeing sense. Seeing is clairvoyance. And these aspects of intuition, people come into the world with very strong power centers. They relate to the chakras. These forms of intuition are directly related to our power centers. Some people come into the world with really strong power centers. Well, we all come into the world with very strong power centers. Some might be stronger than others, meaning I might come into the world with a strong throat chakra, and maybe a strong heart chakra, and maybe a strong third eye, 6th chakra. And someone else might come into the world with a very strong 2nd chakra and a very strong heart chakra. My aspects of intuition, I'm making this up, my aspects of intuition might be that I'm a strong clairvoyant, I'm a strong claircognizant intuitive, etc. Someone else might come into the world with those lower chakras, and they might be the sentient people, like I feel things on that sentient level. Maybe I don't get the visions so much, but I get the felt sense. The aspects of intuition relate to how much we are clear in these power centers. And some people are innately come into the world with those strong power centers, and some of us need to clear the blocks to them. And healing is very much, energy healing is very much a part of intuitive development. So I'm going to talk about mediumship first, because I've done so much on empathic intuition, and I will talk about that, but I know many people have taken the courses that I've taught and heard lots of things about my empath explanation. So I'll start with mediumship first. So first of all, someone who is a medium or mediumship, what mediumship is it's the ability to facilitate spirit or mysticism, mystical connection with the divine through your being. And mostly it relates to upper body intuition. So upper body intuition is the throat chakra, which is clairaudience, and the third eye center, which is clairvoyance. And so someone who might feel I'm a medium is very active up here. They're activated. This is prana. So much divinity and prana and life force energy is moving through that area of their body, and they might have come in awake, or they might have come in and had awakenings to that experience of this opening up. And in the lower half of the body, we call that lower body intuition, and that's your empathic nature and your claircognizant nature. Claircognizance also relates to the heart chakra, so it's not necessarily only low body, if the heart's sort of in the middle between upper body and lower body. And so with mediumship, what's happening is that the activation of the backside of the throat chakra is opening up to the divinity of grace. And it's happening maybe even without someone realizing that it's happening. It's just an innate gift that this power center, these power centers in the upper body, are activated. And what happens in this area of our body is that we start to become infused with the power of spirit, of spiritual connection, and of mysticism, the mystical connection to the divine, and mystical being actually divine communication primarily with God. Now, God being a loaded word, depending on your upbringing, depending on your background. Maybe it's not a loaded word for some, but God essentially, in this case, I'm meaning the divine realm, the aspect of pure grace, light, love, universe, oneness, whatever you want to call it. And so here's the thing about mediumship, is that some people will find that they're mediumship because spirits start coming and communicating with them, and it's confusing. And what do I do with this? And innately, that might be someone's intuitive gift. Their gift is that I have this access and this ability to hear someone's loved one from the other side, or someone who's crossed over, or I'm hearing a spirit guide, or I'm facilitating connection to angels. Now, throughout time, mystics have been documented throughout world religions, throughout spiritual practices, throughout the Renaissance era, that being able to connect to the other side, where the veils are really thin, and the soul, a being, a person, is able to receive that information, is not unnatural. It's actually very normal. And if we go to other countries, there's an honoring of the dead. There's an awareness of, those loved ones who have passed on, or those who might still be working out their karma in the Bardo state in between worlds, or some, we can go on and down a big discussion here. But what happens here is that this awareness, this activation of the upper chakras is essentially inviting us to stretch our limitations. When we are blocked in the third eye center or in the crown chakra, essentially we are operating from doubt and a closed gate, a closed portal. Essentially, with the crown chakra, it's a lot harder to operate in the world if our crown chakra is closed. When it's open and we're receiving divinity and grace, then we're receiving that energy in, and that helps increase faith, brings faith into our life, especially if we draw that energy down to the heart. Now, some people will have the experience of, if I connect, and because this is scary for me, and I might hear spirits, and I might hear angels, and so on and so forth, and it might be overwhelming. So here's what's really important to know, is that in spiritual connection and in the spirit realm, I told you this in the beginning, my interest is that you're healthy. You're doing it in a healthy way. You're connected in a healthy way. And what's healthy is that we are grounded in our body and in ourself, and that we are not opening up in the upper chakras before we have full awareness of what it means to be in the lower body. Full awareness of how to process energy held in the root chakra, how to stay connected to self, how to stay grounded. Because what can happen is that if it's this sense of, I want to, open up and have this upper body intuitive awareness, but I don't really want to deal with my history or my trauma, or let's just shove the past in the past or under the rug, it backfires. And it backfires because the spirit will start to elevate in the body if there isn't a place for the spirit to sit in the lower chakras. If the chakras are contracted, if they're blocked, if they're, if there's wounds in place in those areas, being able to heal and release and honor and cleanse and learn our own tools for energy healing and releasing and clearing the lower chakras, inviting the spirit to sit more powerfully. What it does is it takes the mystical experience and brings it down into the heart. And this is where guidance is true guidance. And this is where also the most important thing for me in communicating and teaching this world of mediumship and spiritual, I don't really teach mediumship, but I do in my healer training program, intuitive healer training program, I teach guidance and facilitating. And what's important to know is that if we are not claiming this pathway of divinity in our bodies, if we're not claiming it and saying, I am grounded in myself and I have a pure, clear connection to the divine, and I pray for that and I work on that and I build trust with that, and I'm cleansing this area, and I'm saying nothing less than the love and the light of the divine is welcome into this space. This is my space. And so what that does is it starts to open up the pathway to the heart chakra. We can stay very much up here in terms of this, hearing spirit guides and angels and other beings. I am not the biggest fan of channeling other beings. I don't use the word channeling in my practice at all. I understand it. I know the concepts. I work with concepts around it, but I don't personally use those words. I don't even use the word mediumship, to be honest with you, because for me, I'm working with the absolute health and well-being of the body. And what's normal to us is that we all have access to the pathway of our higher self and the pathway of divinity. And it's normal to be able to hear and receive the light of divine and the words of wisdom through your being. And that is going to give that when you bring it down to the heart and you allow it to be in the heart center of your being, then you're starting to operate in clear, clean consciousness, and the guidance rings in the pathway of truth. If I'm insecure and I'm not empowered in myself, I'm going to surrender my responsibility to spirit guides, angels, beings, whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm going to give over my power as if they know more than I do. And I will tell you this, spirit guides and angels will back off if they think if they feel that we're asking for them to entertain our ego. They have no interest. They will back off and they will be absolutely quiet and they won't say a thing. Because and other beings you might be able to access, and it can get a little bit chaotic and crazy, but that's why I'm saying here we don't in the realm of this work and in the training and development of this work, you don't have to open up to anything. You have that discernment in yourself. You of course you are your body, your center, your heart, your pillar of light, your center of truth, your pathway of the divine. And you staying in that and being in presence is what opens up the higher realm of grace through your being. And that might come through beautiful guidance. And you might get to journal that guidance. And you might get to facilitate that guidance. And you might get to channel a massive amount of light through your body. That's incredibly healing, beautifully healing. And what I would recommend is where the questions come in of why or how or what does that mean, that's where we have to drop down lower into the body. Because what something means or how we translate the information that comes in through our body has everything to do with lower body intuition. Now, again, if I was a medium or mediumship and I'm up here, I'm going to perhaps I might not necessarily be so connected to the power of how am I going to live this in the world? How am I going to integrate in the world? How am I going to pay my bills? How are my relationships with people? How am I in my power? What's my physical body doing? What does it feel like? Am I taking care of myself? So, in the intuitive system, empathic intuition is so important because it it is the felt sense in the body, and it's the felt sense we feel laterally. We feel energy from others, we feel energy from the ether, we're feeling what's going on in the world around us. Usually it's what's in the emotional temperature because it directly relates to your second and third chakras. Now, in the body, what will happen is that empathic intuition, empaths in particular, will not have a problem feeling. They'll have a problem not feeling. They'll have a problem with the overwhelm, feeling too much, taking on too much. And that relates to the amount of grounding that we have inside ourselves. And it also relates to how much I am not occupying the fullness of my power in my lower chakras. So I said earlier that the spirit will lift up inside and it will actually accentuate the upper chakras. Now, for some people, that might feel like anxiety. It doesn't necessarily feel like clairvoyance or clairaudience or mediumship. It feels like stress and anxiety in the body. Because when the spirit lifts into the body, the chakras have to compensate for that. So they're going to expose, they're going to open up, they're going to have some level of response to what's going on lower in the body. And so what'll happen here with empathic intuition is that we carry so much of our human history, our belief systems, our conditioning, the traumas we've lived through, and also we carry not just what people have said to us, but the tribal marinade. What was unspoken in the family of origin, in the tribe, that no one really said, but I got it. I got it clearly in myself that this is how I need to survive in this environment. Therefore, this is how I'm going to survive in the world. I'm just going to recreate that. So what happens is the root chakra will end up carrying so much of that programming, and it will oftentimes contract. And from that place of contraction, because an uncontracted root chakra would mean I'm secure in myself, I'm grounded in myself, it's okay to be me, it's okay to be who I am, and I have a sense of self. If those are compromised, most likely the root chakra has gone into some level of contraction, and the second and third chakras open up. And when they open up to compensate, that's where we lose our boundaries. That's where we start to become overly sensitive. That's where we start to have no filters, and we absorb what's going on in our world, from the world around us. It's also very possible that we can't feel ourselves because we're feeling so much in the front body. And the self, the true presence of self, has moved to the back body, just moved out of the way. It's not okay for me to be in here, so I might as well preserve myself back here, behind me a little bit. So part of that work is that we do start healing the wounds in the lower body that we're carrying and the conditioning and the programming. And we invite our spirit to start grounding back in to our body and find the power of the power centers. How we do that is twofold. One is that it's going to take understanding the chakras. Really understanding them and knowing what the shadow or wounds held there, and also what the power of them are. And then secondly, it's going to take deep dives into the subconscious. We can't do it from the frontal lobe. We have to go into deeper states of meditation, of clearing, of going into the internal field, journeying inward and identifying what's held there, what's stuck there, what emotions are held there. And if that's new to you, it's going to be hard the first time. It's going to be hard the second time. It's going to be hard maybe the third time, and then it gets better. The more it gets easier, the more we practice it. Now, I am going to be teaching a course. Let me say this. I guide so many experiences around this. This is a big part of my work, is helping people to get more deeply connected into their power centers. And on Saturday, I am going to be offering a free call through the Shift Network on the next course that I'm going to be offering with the Shift Network. And it's going to be on taking a deeper dive into these 4 aspects of intuition. And it is the process of going into the inner journey, unblocking in these power centers in order to expand more intuition. And this is the first time I'm going to be focusing quite a bit on claircognizance as a form of intuition. And I've taught on empathic intuition. We are going to talk about mediumship in that program and give you some tools on how to work with it. But I don't work with it until we know deeply the doorways and the consciousness in our lower body. And so we're going to be spending some time building core strengths through the process of connecting to your inner child, somatic releasing, and the expansion of the spiritual heart. And we're going to be working with the power of will, divine will, and personal will in the solar plexus. All of these relate to how am I going to be empowered with my light in my body so that my intuitive sense can work from a place of strength and empowerment. So I'll post the link to that call. It's a free call, so you can join it. It's with Stephen Dinan from the Shift Network. I'll be doing an intro call, and then I'll be introducing the program in that call. So I'll post that link, and you're welcome to join that call. And just to conclude here, in that the importance of upper body intuition and lower body intuition is that with the upper body being able to facilitate and hear and receive higher guidance and be okay being that mystical being in the world, the more we ground that work lower into our body and accept that I am powerful not in an ego sense, powerful in the sense of presence, powerful in the sense of I know myself, powerful in the sense of I am, and it's okay for me to be vulnerable, and man, it's hard for me to be in my emotions, but I know that's important. The more we own our emotions, the less we get triggered by other people's emotions, because we've increased our capacity to be able to feel, to have emotions. If we can hold our own, we can hold presence for someone to have their own. And that's important for empathic intuition and for grounding into our body and allowing the power of the upper chakras to connect to the power of the lower chakras, and for us to be fully embodied intuitive beings. So this is a very, I would say, brief overview. We could talk forever because there's so much content and information. I'm going to be talking more about this on Saturday. I'm also going to do a guided healing in that call, so you are welcome to join it. And then if you are interested in joining the 12-week course, you'll get the information on how to sign up for that after, right there on Saturday. So we'll give you that information as well. Many blessings. Thank you so much for joining and being here. I hope this supported you. Feel free to share it if you think it's going to help someone else. And I look forward to connecting with you next time.